Hello and welcome to the screencast for 5.3 Reproduction and Meiosis. And what we're going to look at here, if we look at the lesson objectives, is compare and contrast asexual reproduction with sexual reproduction, and an overview of sexual reproduction and outline the phases of a process called meiosis, not to be confused with what we just did with mitosis. So meiosis. We're going to explain why sexual reproduction leads to variation in offspring. This will be really important for chapters 9 and 10 that you understand this. And we'll look at the lifestyle and different types of sexual life cycles. I'm just going to highlight a few things about asexual reproduction. And asexual reproduction involves a single parent, so there's no variation. The offspring are genetically identical to each other and to the parent. All prokaryotic cells and some eukaryotes reproduce this way. There's various forms of this. One's binary fission, which we talked a lot about, but there's also fragmentation and budding. So read those, and also know that asexual reproduction can be very rapid. And that's an advantage for many organisms. It allows them to crowd out other organisms. Bacteria are incredibly quick compared to many others in reproducing. Sexual reproduction, on the other hand, involves two parents. In sexual reproduction, both parents make reproductive cells, which are called gametes. We're going to see that in this section. The process of making these gametes is called meiosis. And gametes are what are called haploid cells. That means they don't have a pair of chromosomes, they only have one set of chromosomes, so that when that reproductive cell joins with the other, they'll start one cell with a paired chromosomes. So some of the terms that you should know here are the fact that when two gametes, two sex cells, they're also referred to, unite, it's called fertilization, and that first fertilized cell, that very first one, is referred to as a zygote. And the zygote is a diploid. That means it has paired chromosomes. Now, remember, gametes, the sex cells, the sperm or the egg, in the case of human beings, just have one set of chromosomes in them. And the process of making that is meiosis. The text wants to review real quickly binary fission, so amoebas, and flagellates, paramecium, they all divide by binary fission, but a lot of protists will divide by what's called multiple fission, so that they'll divide and they'll bud off. So that's an interesting distinction between the two. So in section 5.3, they go into a lot of deep detail about diploid and haploid numbers, and I want you to read that, but you won't have to study that for the quiz. This diagram kind of encapsulates what I'd like you to know for that. So the process of meiosis, this is an overview diagram. It's really, really important. Watch this. Here is a green pair of chromosomes, a red pair of chromosomes. This is interphase. They're getting ready. They've just doubled because this cell is going to split as it does normally in mitosis, okay, regular cell division. But then watch what happens. Then the cell divides again into two daughter cells, but they split up so that there's only one pair, not the double pair up here, one pair of chromosomes in each of these cells. This is how human beings make reproductive cells. So this will be the genetic complement in one sperm, two sperm, three sperm, four sperm, or if you're a female, one egg, two eggs, three eggs, four eggs. And the reason we need single chromosomes, not paired chromosome, is when a sperm and an egg combine to fertilize, when our two gametes combine to make a zygote, that first cell has to have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And that only happens because the process of meiosis puts single chromosomes into our reproductive cells. Now, I went through that kind of quickly, so we're going to talk a little bit about it more in a second, but make sure you read it and know this diagram. Know what these are. These are single paired chromosome entities. So when we were talking about asexual reproduction, the offspring were exactly the same as their parents. In sexual reproduction, that's not the case. In sexual reproduction, the offspring are genetically unique. That means they differ from both parents and also from each other. And there's a number of reasons. And one of those is that there can be a mixing of the chromosomal or the genetic material. And when cells divide during meiosis, chromosomes are randomly distributed to daughter cells. That's another reason. So make sure that you read these and remember, one of the biggest advantages of sexual reproduction is that we get genetic variation. Genetic variation means that those organisms can respond to their environment slightly different than other organisms. So look at this last sentence. This is really interesting. All of these mechanisms working together, the mechanisms up here, in an amazing amount of potential variation. Each human, for example, has the potential to produce more than 64 trillion genetically unique children. No wonder we are all different. In our lesson summary, they talk about asexual reproduction. Make sure you understand the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. Make sure that you understand that our haploid cells only have single chromosomes, and the process of fertilization is to produce a diploid, that means 2 chromosomes, in the zygote. The zygote is the first fertilized cell. And meiosis is the type of cell division that produces gametes. Those are our sex cells like sperm and egg. And it involves 2 cell divisions and produces 4 haploid cells, haploid single chromosomes. They talk about that sexual reproduction has the potential to produce a tremendous amount of variation, very important. And the cell cycle sequence. Make sure that you review that, make sure you understand it. Good luck on Chapter 5 quiz, and we'll talk to you soon.